Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we have a quick video for you with some interesting updates by CXC and the CARICOM Secretariat. Have some very interesting updates as it relates to examinations for 2021. So June, July 2021 examinations. So stay tuned for those interesting updates. But before we do, some housekeeping. We posted today a new post, and we're just letting you know that we packaged a bunch of stuff together in a folder, and now you can have that folder what we're calling the POB study pack. And so it contains some blank paper one, some blank paper twos, a syllabus, some PowerPoint slides that I've used on the channel, and some of the other things I use on the channel for teaching. We put them in a nice little folder, and we have them up on the channel where you can click and you can have them for just as little as $5, right? Just $5, and you will be able to download that folder. So you click the link and it will take you to a page, and just for $5 you get the pack containing past papers 1 and 2, blank ones, syllabus, PowerPoint slides, and other things that we use on the channel. Okay, so just support the channel, jump over there, get the folder. All right, so that's it for that little update now. So on to the updates by CXC, right? And so today they had a press conference where they reported on a meeting that they had with the education ministers from across the region. And so the chairman Minister Jeffrey Lloyd, who is also the chairman of the Council for Human and Social Development, he gave the key takeaways from the meetings that they had with the ministers across the region. And some of the key takeaways I'm going to outline shortly, and then I will go into some of the key takeaways that Dr. Wesley, the CEO of CXC, also highlighted that came out of that meeting. And so let's go. So Minister Jeffrey outlined that CXC had, as I said, a regional meeting with the Council of Development, Human and Social Development. And out of that meeting, they agreed with CXC. There was some recommendation put forward, and so they agree that the upcoming exams will go back to the original format, where you will have for CSEC, you have a paper 1 and a paper 2, and also you're going to have your paper 3 for the private candidates. And so all of them agree on that, so that's how it's going to be. So exams are going to revert for 2021. They're going to revert to the original format, as we would have mentioned before in videos before. And so what else came out of the meeting? So they also agreed with CXC that the best time for the exam would be June, July of 2021. And so the exams are scheduled, as we said before, from June 14th to July 16th, 2021. And so the ministers agreed with CXC on that recommendation, and so results will be made available to the ministers by the last week in September and to the students early October. So those things have been set in a sense by the agreement between CXC and the regional ministers of education. There's also been an extension to persons who this was very interesting. So you can defer from the exam cycle. If you feel as though you're not ready, you can defer from the 2021 exam cycle into 2022 for January or May-June, based on what subject you are doing. And so there was an extension for those people who want to defer. So you have to defer. You have to indicate that you're going to defer for no later than May the 1st, 2021. But of course, you have to get approval from your school or whatever private organization you're registered with. You have to get approval to defer that exam. So you can defer your exams from upcoming June, July to next year, and that has to be approved by your school or whatever organization you're registered with. And so the deadline, May the 1st, 2020. And so CXC also, the ministers also say that they would like for CXC to share the broad topics that are going to come on the paper twos. So the ministers told CXC they would like me to share with them the broad topics that are going to be coming on the paper twos. And also, again, from this meeting, based on what Mr. Jefford said, the meeting also considered a joint criteria with UWI and CSEC for how persons can matriculate into the University of the West Indies. So, because they know that the results are going to be coming back late in October when UWI would have already started, you can actually register to enter UWI if you these are the criteria. If you would have passed at least 2 CAPE subjects, Unit 1 or 2, with a 1 between a 1 to 4, and you are currently registered to sit, would have sat the exam, the recent exam. So you have to be currently registered for Unit 1 or 2 of the current year. So those are the new criteria for this time to matriculate into University of the West Indies. Also, ministers agree that additional time for in-person teaching will be given. So ministers agree that teachers are going to have to teach a longer time. I don't know if teachers agree on that or not, but here we are. So they have to agree. They agree that teachers are going to get a longer time to, one, cover the content, and also to help finish up with the SBAs. So to fill in the content gaps and to help finish with the SBAs, teachers are going to get a longer in-person, students are get longer in-person teaching time. So those are some of the key takeaways from what Mr. Jeffrey Lloyd, the chair for the Council of Human and Social Development. So those are his takeaways from the meeting. Now, Dr. Wesley came on and he also reaffirmed certain things that Mr. Lloyd said. So CXC, again, exam starts June 14 to July 16, 2021. CXC will submit the broad, so they agree that they're going to submit the broad topics for the paper 2 5 weeks, so that's May 10th, so 5 weeks before the exams are scheduled to begin. So they agree that they're going to submit the broad topics. But they want you to know that paper 1 will still cover all of the topics, right? Paper 1 will still cover all of the topics. All right, so there will be a 1-month extension. So next takeaway, there will be a 1-month extension for SBAs, but they're not going to give out a particular date because they don't want to conflict with what the school's deadline, what the local ministry's deadline, and CXC deadline are, because you know something that can be conflicting. Your teacher tell you to bring it in a certain time, and you feel like because you know the CXC deadline, you're not going to carry it in for that deadline that the teacher gave you. But the teacher would have a deadline to finish marking and hand it into the local registrar, who would have a deadline to hand it into CXC. So you have to stick with your teacher's deadline. So work with that, please. As we said before, 100% of the SPAs are going to be moderated for all centers, so that's not going to change. Again, he reiterated that candidates can defer the January to January 2022, January or June. You can defer from this year to either January or June next year, 2022, sitting up the exam. But you have to be registered for that subject already. You have to be registered for that subject already to actually defer into a next exam cycle. Candidates must indicate if they will defer from the June-July 2021 exams to a next cycle by, as I said before, May 1st, 2021. So if you know you're not ready and you want to defer, once you get the approval from your school or your institution, you have to let CXC know, and so you will sit the exam at a later date. But if you're ready, go ahead, by all means, sit the exam. Also, the SBAs for the subject that you defer can be carried over. So if you defer, if you already completed your SBAs this year and you defer into next year's cycle, those SBA marks and whatnot can be taken over into the new examination cycle. So it's very interesting that this is an option now, that you can defer your exams into a next exam cycle. That's most interesting. And so they're working with the students. They understand that COVID is a thing. We know COVID is a thing, and some countries are affected differently to others. And so you cannot have one sweeping one sweeping policy for all countries. And that's why Dr. Wesley also mentioned that the season of the exams and those things, the way it is conducted, whether in person or online, e-testing or in person, is determined by on a national level. So country by country going to determine what's best for them. So CXC did not make a broad sweeping policy that all exams have to be done e-exams or in person or this data or whatever, because we know that because of COVID, different countries are affected differently. Barbados lockdown, St. Lucia cases on the rise, St. Kitts barely have much of the cases. So different countries have different paradigms, different systems, different existence as it relates to the COVID pandemic. So that is why this thing is so ad hoc. So it's done on a national level. All right, so those are some of the big takeaways from the press conference. I recommend that you go and you go and watch the press conference and see what you can get from it. So that's it for this quick update on some of the plans CXC have going forward. And so that's it for the video. So you know what to do now. You like, you subscribe, hit the bell to know when Learn SKN drops another video. And just to end the video, I'm going to let you listen to Dr. Wesley's part of the press conference so that you can hear some of the stuff that he mentioned as it relates to CXC and the 2021 examinations. All right, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
So further to the information presented by the Honorable Minister, we want to indicate further then that examinations will commence on the 14th of June and end on the 16th of July 2021, with CCSLC being administered between the 19th and the 22nd of July 2020. As it relates to the sharing of topics, while CXC will submit to all Ministries of Education the broad topics to be assessed on papers 5 weeks in advance of the administration of the examinations, which means on May 10th, that listing of topics will be available to the Ministries of Education. It must be said and indicated, all candidates must be reminded that all topics are covered in paper 1 for all subjects. In addition, there are certain subjects for which the details are not readily specifically available in the syllabus. We will make sure that information is provided. As it relates to the school-based assessment, given the issues being experienced by candidates for 2021, CXC reduced the assessment requirements for SBA to as much as 50% in some instances, details of which were issued in November 2020 to the local registrars for schools and some reposted on websites for candidates. There is also a 1-month extension for submission of all SBAs. CXC will maintain the 100% moderation of SBAs across all centers for all subjects. As it relates to deferral, a candidate will be able to defer the January 22 CSEC sitting, 2022 rather, CSEC sitting, or the May-June 2022 CAPE CSEC or CCSLC session for any subject offered for which they were previously registered. The candidate must indicate an intent to defer from the June-July 2021 examination cycle, latest date in May 2021. By the 1st of May is the ideal time. On indicating an intent to defer an alternative exam cycle, the candidate's current registration will be placed on hold. On indicating the intent, appropriate approval at the center level, that's a school for candidates at the school, in schools rather, and LR offices for private candidates must be obtained. Therefore, those students who are registered through schools will obtain such approval at the school level, but those private candidates who want to defer will have to do so through the local registrar's office. The candidate must then indicate by the registration date for the target examination cycle. All candidates will remain in the same center for the deferred registration. There will be no fee implications for subject deferral. That is, candidates would not be charged for deferral of subjects, even if the deferred subjects are spanned across January and the May-June sessions of 2022. Submitted SBAs and their scores can be deferred for use in the next sitting of the examinations. In light of the above, CXC will be working closely with the Ministries of Education and the local registrars to ensure that the implementation of these suggested approved changes will be done smoothly and in the best interest of our students. Thank you very much.